is the 112th meeting between Georgia and Georgia Tech. The 7th-ranked Bulldogs trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, while the Yellow Jackets need a win to get bowl eligible. Georgia Tech's lone loss 2 weeks ago against Auburn, that dropped them from the #1 spot to #7, and they'll play the winner of Auburn, Alabama in the SEC championship game next week.
Football playoff.
The Governor's Cup trophy and so much more on the line today. Georgia has won the last 8 meetings in Atlanta. Get ready for some clean, old-fashioned hate. Georgia won the toss, elected to defer. Rivalry weekend in college football, and so much at stake on so many campuses. Can Georgia win today and then win at Mercedes-Benz Stadium just down the road next week to make the college football playoff? Can Georgia Tech get bowl eligible? The Yellow Jackets lost a game against UCF because of the hurricane. They have not been able to make it up. A spectacular day in Atlanta. Temperature in the mid-60s. This game has been sold out since August. And Georgia Tech standing in the way of a possible playoff spot for the Georgia Bulldogs. Blankenship will kick off to Jerry Howard. And Howard had a little trouble with it, and he scoops up in the end zone, but he's got to get out of there. He did. They're going to mark him down at the 1-yard line. Christian Payne was down there for the Bulldogs. A horrific start for the Yellow Jackets.
I have never seen starting field position this poor. On an opening kickoff, anxiety, anticipation, rivalry weekend. You misplayed the opening kickoff, and now your quarterback's going to start with his toes in the end zone on the first snap of the game against one of the best defenses in the land.
We've got a whistle here. This may get reviewed further to see if it was a safety.
The runner was down in the field of play. That play is under review.
Now here's the issue. The whole ball has to be outside the end zone for it not to be a safety. So that's the first thing. I thought he got out. I thought that forward progress, he was all the way out of the end zone. The other issue is you saw Jerry Howard put his hand up. Was he signaling for a fair catch, or was he just trying to shield the sun? But for an official, that's not supposed to matter. If you put your hand up like that in a waving motion, that's a fair catch signal.
It is. And you can see the shadow of the ball carrier. Clearly it's working from right to left, so that sun is directly in his eyes, but that looks like a fair catch signal. First possession of the football was in the end zone.
After review,
that's a good point.
The receiver gave an invalid fair catch signal. He possessed the ball in the end zone. By rule, when he possesses the ball, the play is dead. The play results in a touchback. First down for Georgia Tech.
That's a good point.
20-yard line.
The first time he touched the ball was in the end zone. So it works out where even he's not trying to signal for a fair catch.
Works out in their favor. Clearly, you can see he's just trying to shade. Or it looks like he's trying to shade from the sun that's directly in his eye. But right there, he doesn't possess the ball until he's fully in the end zone.
And that's number 2 in the ACC behind Lamar Jackson. 2nd and 6 on the Tech 29. Marshall pitching it. And Searcy wrapped up. Roquan Smith, the leading tackler for Georgia, a terrific linebacker. Butkus candidate makes the play.
And understanding what the defensive coordinator Mel Tucker wants has been outstanding this year.
3rd and 5. And Marshall keeping it, able to break a tackle and get the first down out to the 40-yard line.
Great job by Taquan Marshall right here. Little lead option with some pullers out in front. He sees that Georgia Does a good job of cutting off that perimeter run lane. He goes north and south, understands how far he has to get, falls forward for a big first down.
Georgia Tech, number 4 in the country in rushing, number 2 in passing yards per completion. They don't throw it often, but when they do, it's down the field. Marshall with the pitch. Georgia's all over it. Lynch, hog-tied.
Third long. This is not going to be an area in which Georgia Tech's going to have a lot of success against a defense like this.
Marshall, a rare pass. And it is incomplete through the hands of Brad Stewart. So it's 4th down. Presley Harvin, a 240-pound punter. It's scooped up on the 11 by Hardman. He's got running room. Hardman past the 30-yard line. Great return for Mecole Hardman, one of the top returners in the SEC, 38 yards. Good starting field position for Jake Fromm in Georgia when we return. We had 2 backs with 1,000 yards in the same season. Michelle has a chance to get that. And on an end around, it's Hardman getting the first down. You see the Jets of Mecole Hardman again into Tech territory to the 49. And that has to bring you closer together when you're rehabbing together. Chubb had that awful knee injury a couple years ago. Michelle has fractured his shoulder blade twice. And missed tackles by Georgia Tech, a big problem in their loss last week. Big problem all season. Fromm with time, and it's almost intercepted. Corey Griffin again had a beat on it. Fromm a little off so far.
Whether you want to run it or throw it, you have both those options here on 3rd and 5.
They don't throw it a lot to their backs, though. Fromm steps up. His pass is caught. It's Hardman, and it's another Georgia first down. It's been about a 6-minute drive. Georgia moving down the field into the red zone.
Georgia's thinking, well, we're on offense. We might as well hold the ball because we know if we give it back to Georgia Tech, they could be a ball control offense and eat some clock. So Georgia's got to be pretty methodical when you're playing against a triple option team. You got to understand situations. You got to watch the clock and count the snaps as well for your defense.
Play 11 of the drive. One-on-one coverage on the back shoulder throw. It's pulled in by Wims, and he's ruled out of bounds at the 1. He also dropped the ball when he went out of bounds, but they felt that he had secured it to the ground before he popped up and the ball came out.
You see, he clearly has control of the ball. Good job. Good concentration by Wims. That's well covered on the perimeter. It really is.
That's a touchdown.
I stepped on it.
Should be a touchdown, right?
Just depends on where that ball was. It's across the plane. I'm going to look at it, though.
Again, that plane extends. I mean,
Holding on the field. It's a catch, and the run was short of the goal line. That play is under review.
Javon Wims, a guy who had 1 scholarship offer out of high school, went to a small school called Belhaven University, then to junior college. He only played 1 year of football in high school. That's a touchdown, folks.
That should be a touchdown for sure. You're right. You can see clearly has possession of the ball. Both feet are down in bounds. And you see the extension over the pylon. More than likely, this call could potentially be overturned.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. 1st and goal.
It's interesting because I thought that ball extended over the pylon. Of course, it has to be indisputable video evidence to overturn beyond all doubt. Clearly, the replay officials, these ACC crew, didn't feel as though it was enough. Shouldn't affect much, though, as 1st and goal from the 1 with one of the best running offenses in the country on the field.
Just wonder if it was that left foot. They weren't sure if the left foot hit out of bounds before he extended all the way.
Just depends on where that ball was. It's across the plane.
It's Chubb, and he's in. Touchdown, Georgia. Number 13 on the season for Nick Chubb.
It's a great drive. by this Georgia Bulldog offense.
In the series, a couple wins by Georgia Tech because they happened during World War II, where Georgia stopped playing and Georgia Tech was using some substitute players to play, and they won the series. Gervonta Benson stood up only 1 yard. Let's check in with Cassidy Hubbard in the studio.
If he's able to return.
And Georgia Tech with a second down and long. Marshall with the pitch to Lynch, who gets outside and gets the first down to the 36-yard line. Lorenzo Carter tracks him down for Georgia.
Where they are on the field. Pay close attention to Paul Johnson. He's got no papers in his hands. He's going to use players to shuffle in and out to get the play in, and he does it based off of feel and alignment.
In other words, there's no play sheet as Marshall is tracked down. A late flag comes in. Lorenzo Carter on the tackle after a short game.
He's been doing this offense for 30 years. No play sheet necessary for Paul Johnson. You can see he's getting ready to call another play here in just a minute once he identifies what the penalty is going to be.
There is no foul for chop block. Third down.
That's another thing, too, guys, that we'll get into is the blocking elements. But see Paul Johnson there. He's just got a feel. Now, right now, this ball is close to the right hash, so that's going to give him some formational insights. And then based off of what he studied during the week, he knows that in this area of the field, this hash mark, the more than likely the personnel and what defense Georgia will be in gives him his call.
Marshall with time, now throws underneath and ruled a catch. First down by Lynch.
Good catch by Lynch. If he was able to grab it, that ball off the mark a little bit for Quan Marshall, forcing his receiver to lay out.
Now they just changed the ruling of the field, said incomplete.
Incomplete pass. The play is under review.
But it's interesting, that official who you see there, he called it complete, but you can clearly see, and maybe Lynch had his back turned to that official a little bit when he rolled over. He never had possession.
Incomplete pass is confirmed.
Yeah, and obviously that ball clearly moved. It cannot be overlooked.
From the Georgia 27-yard line, Michelle getting outside to the 35-yard line before he's knocked out. And it looks like it's a Georgia first down.
Then it's fine having two teams from the same league, but if you can stack the resumes and they're close, then I'd like to see them stay away from it.
Chubb, and there's just way too much movement up front. Georgia's offensive line so much better than it was last year, and they're just dominating at the point of attack.
They have to rely on movement, and it hasn't been very successful to this point.
Chubb, great play is Griffin. They try to run outside. Chubb bounced it wide, and Corey Griffin with too much speed. It's fourth down. Marshall. Late pitch, and Searcy dumped by Roquan Smith. It's so hard to get outside Smith, the leading tackler for the second straight year for Georgia.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know. You beat two #1 ranked teams in one season?
that's true.
You beat Georgia twice and Alabama in a month. I think that's pretty good. Pass on the money to Ricky June, their best receiver, and they can't bring him down. Carries a convoy with him to the 36-yard line. 27-yard pass play. That'll get the crowd into it here. Jackets are on the move, but they trail 7-0 to Georgia. Back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
You can see him right now.
Look at this alignment, guys.
He's lined up kind of like a tailback on defense, so they try to hide him there. Searcy reversing field. And they finally get him to the ground to the 40-yard line, so it's only a 3-yard run. Lorenzo Carter on the tackle.
This season, that's pretty dang good.
Yep.
Roquan Smith is effective as anybody when it comes to bringing down opposing players.
Wide pitch to Cottrell. Smith able to track him down, and it'll be close to the first down. It appeared that Cottrell got enough to move the chains. Sideline right now. Georgia Tech from its 48-yard line. Option to the left, and Marshall's pitch to Searcy And he dumped Malcolm Parrish coming up in run support.
Offseason is really going to have to advance with his consistency.
Marshall pitching it. And Lynch able to keep his feet in bounds. He paid for it, though. He got hit hard by Reed, but did a great job to tiptoe the sideline. It'll be 3rd and 1.
You might want to take a look at this. You can see as he's trying to tightrope that sideline, it's awfully close. You can see right there that left foot does in fact land on the white. A couple yards before where they marked it.
Excellent blocking downfield as Benson gets the first down. We talk about the cut blocks. It's not just in the box. It's out on the perimeter with.
Yeah, and it's really puts so much stress on your defense when it comes to recognition too. They can work it to the field. They can work it to the boundary. They can work it up the middle. They can throw it over your head. It's so difficult to handle and recognize on a down-by-down basis.
2nd and 3. Benson, the first man through, and he gets popped. Natrez Patrick met him behind the line of scrimmage as we go to Cassidy. Man, that makes it really interesting for the Big Ten because Ohio State is in the Big Ten championship game. What if they win that and they lose this and you get 3 losses?
I'm telling you, it would be quite crazy. Then do the Trojans, if USC get back in, if they win out, it's Notre Dame's back in it potentially. Could get very interesting.
On a jet sweep, Lynch trying to get the speed. Just can't do that against Georgia. It's really hard with their linebackers. That's a 240-pounder, DeAndre Walker, tracking down the back at the 35-yard line. That's 4th down. Be about a 52-yard field goal try, but it looks like Paul Johnson sending in an offensive play.
Yeah, Paul Johnson, I don't think it was ever been doubt. This was 4-down territory, knowing the part of the field that they're in. But it's a lot tougher 4th down when your 3rd down gains nothing. See who they try to target and which part of the field they try to attack here in a critical 4th and 4.
One pass so far from Marshall, only 108 on the season. 4th and 4. Marshall will throw here. Almost intercepted. Georgia will take over on downs anyway. Dominic Sanders nearly picked it off, and that would have been number 16, making him number 1 all-time in Georgia history. So they elect to go for it on 4th down, and Marshall's pass nearly ends up in the hands of Sanders. Either way, it's Georgia ball. 112 games between Georgia and Georgia Tech. The most played rivalry in college football comes up next on ABC. Wisconsin-Minnesota, 128th meeting. Paul Bunyan's axe will be at stake. Here's the Governor's Trophy, and of course bragging rights for the next 12 months. Georgia up 7-0. First down on the 34-yard line. Big hole, Michelle. Keeps his balance. Wow. We showed you the power earlier. Here he shows some dexterity just to keep his feet moving while his upper body is towards the ground.
This is the same play they opened the game with. Just a little crisscross in the backfield between Swift and Michelle. And it throws those linebackers off for Georgia Tech, resulting in a big game.
17 yards. They go back to Michelle. Wrapped up at the 43-yard line by a Johnny Kirk.
Just the little things that Sony Michel does, like the end of the run right there. He's about to be tackled. He understands that. His balance is a little bit off. He decides to jump cut to his right for another 1.5 yard gain. It's the little things that Sony Michel has always done. He's so crafty with the ball in his hands. Man, he's fun to watch. So explosive as a ball carrier.
Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator, has done such a good job of balancing the carries. Here's Chubb getting the call, and he gets a first down. I mean, Chubb's had some games where he's only carried it 12 to 15 times. Same with Michelle. These are guys that have had a lot of carries over the course of their careers at Georgia. Plus injuries have obviously played a major role for both of them.
Yeah, they might not get a ton of carries. You referenced Michelle. I mean, he had 6 carries against Florida for 140 yards. So, I mean, it's not counting the carries, it's making the carries count, correct? And it's exactly what these two running backs have done over the course of their careers.
On the 36-yard line, here's the quarterback keeping it. Nobody thought Fromm would hang on to the ball there. And He has a huge running lane to the sideline for 14 yards. Mark him out at the 21.
Big runner, but he's serviceable enough to pick up needed yardage when they have to have it in the zone read game.
Off play action from looking Miller. Wide open touchdown, Javon Wims. They can't take that one away.
Run, 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 play action as you approach the red zone. They go with a triple post instead of a double post this time. Wims is left one-on-one against Lawrence Austin in the slot, and he reels it in for a touchdown. The Georgia Tech offense, not quite as good and not quite as balanced.
Bulldog fans making themselves known. They're up on their feet right now. Marshall gets out of there, and he's able to break a tackle and get a first down, and then maybe a late hit. Sanders knocked him out of bounds, but he was able to hold up in time. 17-yard run for Taquan Marshall.
And they had 4th and short. They opted to throw it. Expect them to try to keep it on the ground here.
First things first, 3rd and 5. Marshall, pitch to Cottrell, and he's able to get the first down, keep his feet in play, and they finally track him down to the 20-yard line.
Really, they have been productive. It's different, but they are definitely right now struggling over the last 4 quarters, being successful and consistent. Huge opportunity for him here in the red zone.
Option to the right. Marshall pitching it. Inside the 15 is J.J. Green, the former Georgia Bulldog, who transferred to Georgia Tech to finish out his career.
You could see Georgia's defense, one of the best in college football against the run. Now, most running attacks aren't created equally. This one certainly unique. But you have to be thinking more than likely it's going to be 4-down territory. To try to pick up 3 here and then maybe 2 on the next and then potentially go for it on 4th. That's got to be their line of thinking, because field goals is not going to get them back into this game.
Marshall in trouble in the backfield. Well, that certainly hurts now what you're thinking with regard to whether to kick if you get 4th down, because you're 3rd and goal on the 10. So what do they run here?
Just surprised to see them go with some misdirection right there. They've had some success on this drive, just running some of their base principles. Right there, they go away from it. They lose on the backside, and it results in a 4-yard loss. Tom mentioned it. You can't have lost yardage plays when you run an offense like this. You're just not built to dig yourself out of a hole when you're out of rhythm offensively.
3rd and goal for Georgia Tech. Marshall to the air. Got a receiver wide open. Touchdown, Ricky June. The one guy, if you're Georgia, you can't leave open. Six touchdown catches on the year for June. 12 plays, 75-yard drive. 14-7 Georgia.
What a huge play for Georgia Tech.
I think there's more chaos that would ensue if Alabama won the game, because for those clamoring for an SEC title game that would include 2 SEC teams potentially going to the playoff, that's what would create the chaos.
With Alabama winning or losing?
If Alabama winning goes.
I think it's Alabama if it loses. Here's Sony Michel off the left side, and fist fighting with a defender. Taken down at the 40-yard line. They'll stop the clock to call a timeout here for Georgia. I think it's Alabama losing, because if Alabama loses, and let's say Georgia wins the SEC championship game, are you going to keep a one-loss Alabama team out even if they didn't play? in the SEC championship game, kind of like Ohio State last year?
Well, that would be a challenge, but look at it the other way. Look at it as if Alabama goes into the SEC championship game and were to lose it to Georgia, all right? And now you're going to look at taking both of those teams.
Yeah, either way, you could potentially have 2 one-loss SEC teams that have legitimate resumes that would warrant inclusion in the college football playoff. It obviously depends a little bit on what happens in the ACC, and does Clemson take care of business tonight against South Carolina? And if they beat Miami, that becomes kind of a play-in game, Miami and Clemson in the ACC championship game more than likely. What happens to Wisconsin? I mean, it's going to get very interesting. If there's some chaos and some matchups that go in a direction that we don't anticipate, then the committee's going to have their work cut out for them.
Georgia still has 2 timeouts. And they've got a kicker. He's got a strong leg. Fromm with a long throw that's caught by Riley Ridley. Calvin Ridley of Alabama's younger brother. And he's out of bounds at the 47-yard line, so the clock will stop with 25 seconds left. They need to get to about the 33-yard line for Rodrigo Blankenship, as long as 49. They have 2 timeouts.
Get to the 35 or the 36 too. Understand there's not really much wind, and it's an end-of-half situation. So if you want to back that distance up a little bit more, you can.
Another pass play, and look at all the time for Fromm. Dumping it off to Isaac Nauta. They tackle it inbounds. That'll force Georgia to call a timeout. Good play by Jalen Johnson. So ball on the 43-yard line. Kirby Smart is irate, I think, with Nauta not running out of bounds. Because he had a chance. I mean, he could have just turned and headed to the sideline. He wanted to save both those timeouts.
Yeah, and you need one timeout for sure. You need one timeout for sure. Yeah, he's very upset. You need one timeout for sure to get your field goal unit on the field. Now, you don't have much of an opportunity. Let's take a look and see whether or not Nauta did, in fact, have some room to potentially run right to the sideline. I think he did.
Yeah.
I mean, at least run.
Try
to the sideline. Try. If you get stopped short, then so be it. But try to get to the sideline. Now,
he tried to make a move.
Yeah, Nauta's only a sophomore, so football awareness still something he's working on. But Blankenship definitely has the leg. They obviously need a few more yards, about 10 at least, for them to feel real comfortable about making the opportunity.
Well, you mentioned earlier 35, so that would be 8 more yards to give him a shot. And that field goal line, the target line, is in place based on history. Blankenship's long of 49. Georgia Tech rushes 4. Fromm finds an open receiver. Wims to the 20-yard line. It's a 23-yard pass play. Georgia electing to hold the timeout and spike the ball to take the clock down to 3 seconds. So it's just the kick and then halftime.
And Kirby Smart very upset because Fromm was under center for a good 3 or 4 seconds before he snapped the ball and got the spike. They could have potentially tried to run one more play with about 9 seconds left or 10 seconds left. Instead, it gets all the way down to 3 seconds left, and this will be the last snap of the half, more than likely.
Although Georgia has a timeout, if there's an issue with the snap, Blankenship for 3. And it's perfect. That's big after Georgia Tech got a momentum-shifting touchdown for the Bulldogs to march down the field and get points. Pushing and shoving after the play. Kirby Smart pointing at one of the Georgia Tech players saying he started it. Georgia will get the ball to start the second half. Capital One halftime report coming up after the break, after this message, and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to College Football presented by Kay Jewelers. You're watching the ACC on ESPN. Georgia in front at Georgia Tech by 10. 17-7. Bulldogs win today. and then beat either Alabama or Auburn in the SEC title game, and rest assured they'll be in the college football playoff. Let's look at our first half stats brought to you by Overwatch. Georgia Tech, time of possession, dominated. And difference for Georgia was a late field goal. Made it a 10-point game, and now the short kickoff, trying to force a turnover. Ball was on the ground. Looked like Georgia got it back, and the Bulldogs did at the 23-yard line. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary from the first half.
And their most productive receiver on the day so far.
4 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown for Wims. Tech blitzing. Fromm gets leveled and throws it out of play. They finally get to Fromm. It was Corey Griffin and Antonio Simmons with pressure. They just need to win this game, win the SEC title game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, just down the street here in Atlanta, and they're going to be in the playoff. Wrapped up at the line of scrimmage is Benson. He actually lost a yard.
That offense in that backfield on the sideline.
One thing that hasn't helped, Tom, is their inability to get positive yardage on first down. On second and long, they take a shot. Searcy just can't make the play at the 35. Incomplete. J.R. Reed in coverage.
Searcy's looking for a pass interference, but look at Reed. He's turning around, trying to make a play on the football. Well covered in the back end by the safety. It's exactly what you do. There's going to be contact, but the defender also has an equal opportunity to get to the football as well. That's a good job by this officiating crew, keeping the flag in their pocket, even though Quay Searcy felt otherwise.
Even though he grabbed his arm, the left hand, before the ball arrived.
He was trying to go up and make a play on it. Didn't bother me. I think it's a good no call.
Marshall rolling out, now stepping up, and he cannot outrun Roquan Smith. And so it'll be 4th down. And hands the ball off on first. Jake Fromm, true freshman quarterback. Had an outstanding campaign. They run Chubb off the right side, and he's too hard to stop. Gain of 12, 1st down. Kirby Smart played defensive back at Georgia, one of 9 head coaches of the Power 5 to coach at their alma mater. He was an all-SEC first-team player.
Away. This roster, the way they're coached and how talented they are, they can play with anybody.
Ground to the air on 3rd and 4, and it's pulled in by Wims again. There's just no pressure at all, so Fromm stands back there, and it's just one-on-one, and Wims going to win that every time. It's a gain of 16.
Listen, he's making his mark in state, and that's what this Georgia fan base wants. They want the best in state to stay in red and black.
Another deep ball from Hardman, pulls it in inside the 5-yard line. 38 yards, setting up Georgia first and goal inside the 5.
Mecole Hardman going up and making a very contested catch. Once a defensive back has moved over to the offensive side, and he has not looked back. He's so explosive and fast. And now he's added this to his repertoire as well. Very capable with the ball in his hands. And really good high-pointing the football.
Give Jake Fromm a lot of credit, too, here. He replaced Jacob Eason, who started all the games last year as a freshman. Fromm comes in against Notre Dame and has not looked back. Michel bouncing it to the outside. What a great cut! He scores! Touchdown, Georgia! A lot of twisted ankles today from Georgia Tech DBs trying to stop that guy.
He is just so elusive. Look at how sudden his feet stop. Boom. Just brush him to the side and jog into the end zone. At 215 pounds, he moves so effortlessly side to side. The spot on 3rd and long. They've been really good for a majority of the day on 1st and 2nd down, which is crucial against an attack like this.
How many plays in the playbook for 3rd and 7 for Georgia Tech? Marshall rolling out and thrown out of play by Roquan Smith. Man, have we seen a performance at linebacker this year? We've got him up here at 13 tackles, loss of 7.
Back several years, but it's the in-state players. We'll continue to talk about that, and it's a point that needs to be made, that are going to be the success or failure of recruiting at Georgia.
Fromm keeping it here, nailed out of bounds by Austin, short of the line to gain. Fromm just hops up and runs back to the huddle.
Well, and there's an example of last year, an in-state product in Jake Fromm. He comes in as a true freshman. And, you know, consider this when you're a Georgia fan and you're following Georgia recruiting. Everybody makes this assumption that, oh, well, we got to keep all the best players at home. That's impossible. There's too many good ones, and they're going to go to other places. The key is making sure that the guys that you choose to go on are the guys that pan out for you. You can't have a Josh Harvey Clemens come into your program and a Raekwon McMillan or a Carl Lawson leave.
With 3 tight ends in the game, Michelle powers forward and picks up the first down.
He invites the competition. He's not worried about the depth chart. He commits to Georgia knowing exactly what they have, and he doesn't care.
Chubb able to get the first down.
At all times, and that's the type of talent and skill set that Justin Fields brings that maybe they haven't had before since, like, let's say, DJ Shockley.
Michelle, more missed tackles by Georgia Tech. That's been the story the last few weeks for the Yellow Jackets, and Georgia getting way too much on the ground on first down. That's 8 yards.
But man, they have played so well and poised within the system. Have had some really big moments. They're hoping to have a few more.
And Andrew Thomas at right tackle. He's a true freshman. He's played well. Big hole again. Swift off to the races. Stretching out, but won't get in. Taken out of bounds by Austin. 32-yard gain. It'll be first and goal from inside the 2.
Speaking of true freshmen, DeAndre Swift makes his presence known. Says, don't forget about me. I'm still here. And I had someone in the Georgia program that said DeAndre Swift right now as a true freshman might be our best football player. He's that versatile. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this young man. Of course, a very highly recruited player himself. And when Sony Michel and Nick Chubb depart for the NFL, there won't be much drop-off. Number 7 is the feature back.
See if they try to give him a touchdown here. Swift over the top. Touchdown, Georgia.
DeAndre Swift going vertical and landing in the end zone. Fresh legs. Pretty impressive by the freshman.
11 plays, 67-yard drive that took almost 6 minutes. 10 of the 11 plays on that drive were run plays. And it is a 24-point Georgia lead with 1:23 to go.
DeAndre Swift saying, don't forget about me. We might have some All-Americans in front, but I'm a star too. So is his quarterback, Fromm. Love it. It, of course, beat Miami yesterday, so it comes full circle, Dave.
You were like 11 years old at this point. How do you remember all this stuff at such a young age when all this occurred? Marshall, nice run, picking up the first down to the 47-yard line.
Why do you assume he's cheating, Dave? That's not very nice.
And the craziest thing, too, is the best team in the country at the end of the season might have been Georgia. Remember how good they were playing?
Oh, man.
They played against Hawaii, I believe, in the Sugar Bowl.
Hey, Tom, I want to ask Greg this. Who was the head coach of LSU when they won it in 2007?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Say that
The
again.
head coach of LSU in 2007 when they won the national championship.
Lester Miles.
Okay, see if you're listening. What? What was wrong about that question?
Good question.
Okay. Back after this message, a word to our ABC stations.
Tennessee, Phil Fulmer, and Ohio State. I'll let Luke have that one. Dress.
Starts with a sweater vest.
Yes.
Marshall on the loose. Inside the 30-yard line to Quan Marshall. All the way to the 23 before he gets slammed to the ground by DeAndre Walker. With Navy has not gotten a chance. Maybe he doesn't want to leave, but it's a name you never seem to hear. But if Paul Johnson can do it at a school like Georgia Tech, why not Niumatalolo? Well defended by Walker on the quarterback Marshall. It's going to be 3rd and long.
And some people have suggested that maybe Paul Johnson might like to maybe have a new challenge at some point down the road. Some people have suggested maybe at Kansas State when Bill Snyder retires. Ken Niumatalolo, of course, turned down BYU a couple of years ago, a place that he said was his dream job. He decided to stay at Navy. So the triple option offense is alive and well. It's just a matter of where you would want to bring that to town, because it's a question as to whether or not you can win a national championship with it. How high can you go with this style of attack?
3rd and 10. They're in 4-down territory. Marshall to the end zone, and it is intercepted. And Baker takes it out. Tackled at the 15-yard line. Probably not the smartest move to run out of the end zone that deep, but it's the 2nd interception of the season for DeAndre Baker. Georgia Tech trying to get back in the ball game, but Taquan Marshall throws an interception, which might seal the deal. Well, you know how Miami's got the turnover chain? Well, at Georgia, they have these spiked shoulder pads, which you'd see at a Raider game maybe. But you get savage. You get that on your, wear that on your back. DeAndre Baker with the interception. Who came up with this, by the way? I think it's really cool. I think it's great. Great motivation. Not much there on the jet sweep for Crumpton. Take a look at our Pacific Life game summary.
LSU and Ohio State had some really good linebackers as well.
Hassan Reddick at Temple.
Hassan Reddick at Temple on the edge. It's amazing to see Roquan Smith now that some of the elite stardom has kind of disappeared. He has stepped into that role and is by far the best middle linebacker in the game right now.
From on the money, Crumpton with no defender in sight. Only Pater he can see. Touchdown, Georgia, 78 yards. There is a penalty marker in the backfield. Beautiful throw by Jake Fromm.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 97 defense. That 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the succeeding kickoff. Touchdown stands.
What a great throw by Jake Fromm. Knowing that he's about to get hit, throwing the corner route perfectly in stride. And nothing but green grass out in front of Crumpton. You can see he gets hit low and high. Boy, what I love is he didn't look back at the official. He didn't look at the 2 guys that hit him. He looked at that ball sailing perfectly into the hands of Crumpton. True competitor and a very accurate throw rewarded with a big touchdown.
And again, the protection for Georgia. That offensive line doing a heck of a job. Fromm with so much time to throw. It's a blowout. 38-7, Georgia on the road.
It'll be interesting to see what the diagnosis is on that.
2nd and 7 for Georgia Tech on its 40-yard line with 9 minutes to go. And a huge hit in the backfield as Marshall is leveled by Walker. Boy, it's been a disappointing last couple weeks for Georgia Tech fans. It looked like they were headed for a bowl game. And they had the game against Tennessee at the start of the year that they could have won, lost by a point. At Miami, lose by a point. They beat Virginia Tech, but they just couldn't win on the road. And because the Central Florida game, I don't know that they would have won that game anyway, but because that was canceled, first of all, Georgia Tech doesn't get an opportunity to play that 12th game. And for UCF, I mean, that could have been a challenging game for them. Right now, they're the highest ranked group of 5 team. Running room on 3rd and 8. 4th down for Georgia Tech. Well, you made the point earlier that, Kirby Smart said as they run Holyfield again for a first down out to the 35. But the competition never ended. Even though Jake Fromm had won the job, it wasn't as if every single practice it's like, okay, we're riding Fromm and that's it. It was, let's see if Jake Eason can push him a little bit. And there was competition.
There was. And he's a capable thrower. I mean, if you just go down on the field and watch Jacob Eason throw it as compared to Jake Fromm, you would say every single day of the week that Jacob Eason would be your starting quarterback. But it's the little things that Jake Fromm has done so well. Understanding the situation, moving in the pocket when necessary, tucking it and running it when the opportunity is there to pick up some yards with his legs, and then, of course, not putting the ball in a difficult spot. by turning it over.
Holyfield on the cutback. It's about 9.
I think the one thing that maybe Jacob Eason has learned this fall is with Jake Fromm coming in and maybe the attention to detail, the little nuances of the position that don't have to do with physical talent. I think probably it's been healthy for Jacob Eason, although unfortunate, to be able to sit back and maybe see a mode of operation, see another guy perform, see situations when you're standing off and you're taking a look and you're not in the mix that hopefully he can grow from going forward.
And they say he's matured a lot through this adversity, and that's a credit to him.
Started all 12 games last year. Eason did at quarterback. Brian Herrien, the ball carrier, first down to midfield.
And Tom, so many people have started to speculate, where does Jacob Eason go? Does he stay at Georgia? Is he content continuing to compete with the position? Will he be on campus and on the roster next year? I don't know the answer to those things, but he's handled this situation, and it's a difficult situation, beautifully, and you got to give him a lot of credit for that. I think he's earned a lot of people's respect for the way he's handled it, kind of drifted from the spotlight into the shadows, and has supported the freshman Jake Fromm all the way, who execute at the highest level next week for the SEC title.
Sometimes playing a triple option team before you have the big game as they fumble the exchange. Sometimes that's difficult. I'm not sure that's really going to be a problem for Georgia. This one's over. Georgia's 11-1. The third time in school history that they have an 11-1 record. They'll go for win number 12 next week, and they play in the SEC championship game for the first time in 5 years. Their last SEC title was 2005. Their last national title, 1980. Final score, 38-7. It was 14-7 late first half, and Georgia was able to tack on a field goal 17-7 and then outscored the Yellow Jackets 21-0 in the second half. College football scoreboard is up next on ABC, and then at the bottom of the hour, Wisconsin and Minnesota for the Axe. This has been a presentation of ESPN. For Tom Luginbill, Greg McElroy, our entire crew, I'm Dave Pasch. So long from Atlanta. Georgia keeps its college football playoff hopes alive. The SEC championship game is next on the docket. So long for now from Atlanta.